Good morning, everyone. It's really great to see each of you as you joined in today. I really wish that we could be meeting in person, but how awesome it is to see you all here today on Zoom. And, you're from all over the state of Washington, so this is great. Welcome, Happy New Year, and welcome to the all members meeting of the Hearing Loss Association of America, Washington State Association, HLAA. I'm Sherry Pirozzoli, and I'm currently president of HLAA-WA. On behalf of our board of directors, we're delighted that you've joined our annual meeting today. This is our opportunity to get acquainted, catch up, share experiences, information, and really mostly to see and support each other. We all know firsthand how difficult the last year has been. COVID has been very difficult to our community, yet really good things have happened. Let's think about it. There is a greater awareness about hearing loss. The mask mandates have really created a lot more empathy, and we've all learned how to use Zoom and even how to change our name on the Zoom window. And best of all, you asked for access. You asked for captions. Captions are now available on most online meeting platforms. And in the state of Washington, captions are required to be on public TVs throughout the state. And the great news is there's an explosion of captioning apps for smartphones, and now we have a lot more choices. Finally, hearing loss or not, we all understand the importance of connection and community. So the theme for this year's meeting is silver linings. COVID is likely to cause another tough year. And since the pandemic, we've moved most of our work online. We know how difficult and isolating hearing loss can be, and it's been especially difficult on our community. So let's embrace the challenges and look for the silver linings. What are the opportunities? How can we help each other and our fellow Washingtons living with hearing loss? So to get us started, I'd like to thank three people who will be helping today with today's meeting. Nora Monroe is captioning our meeting today. Ann Thomas is graciously hosting our Zoom meeting and running the slides. Carolyn Odio will be managing the chat space and the Q&A. Thank you so much for your help. Next slide. I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to our board members. Again, I'm Sherry Pirozzoli. Did we go right to the Zoom?
So Sherry, we moved that slide later.
Okay.
Do the directions.
Okay, so now I'm going to turn the mic over to Ann, who will give us our Zoom instructions.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ann Thomas, and I wear many hats in our HLAA family. One of them is the brand ambassador. And today, I'd like to make sure that everybody becomes a little more comfortable using Zoom. It's such a great tool for us. And the only way you can do that is if you really understand what the items are on the menu bar. So if you look at the slide on your screen right now, and this is just for computers, if you're using a phone or a tablet, which is really not the best way to Zoom because the screen is so little. But if you're using a computer, you should see the black bar at the bottom of your screen. If by some chance that's not there, just take your cursor and bring it onto the Zoom screen and the menu bar should appear. So the first thing that we would like for you to understand is that all the way to the left, you see the microphone. And you can click the microphone on or off just by clicking on the microphone. Next to that is the video. You can turn the video camera on or off. And this is important because let's say you needed to do something that you didn't want how many people do we have today? 50 people on this call to see. Early on in Zoom, people forgot that they were visible to everybody and did things like change their clothes and without turning the video off. So this is just a reminder to you that if you're going to do something that you don't want everybody to see, just turn off the video. Chat is available to everybody. You can say hello to your friends. You can make comments to the group at large. You can ask technical questions that Carolyn Odio and I will both try to answer for you. The next thing we would like you to pay attention to or to notice here is see the happy face with the plus, and underneath it, it says reactions. You can raise your hand, clap, give a thumbnail, thumbs up on the emoji. And I have another slide here to explain how to raise your hand in a little more depth. Now, the most important thing for all of us is captions. So if you see in the middle there, the orange button is pointing toward live transcript. And if it's not this meeting, some other meeting, if the captions don't already start, then what you do is you click on live transcript and another menu will open up, another window. And what you need to click on is turn on subtitles. Within that list, there are also two other options. One of them is to view a full transcript. And I happen to personally almost always turn that on because the captions that are in the box go by pretty quickly. And unfortunately, it's usually after the captions have already passed, after I realized that I didn't understand that one word, that one phrase that was said. And if I have the full transcript open, I can quickly scroll back and see what that word was. Obviously, in a meeting of more than a couple of people, you have to have a way to easily call on people. And the way that we're asking people to do that today is by raising your hand. So if you look at the menu bar, you see the smiley face with the plus. And what I did was I created a screenshot so that you would know what that actually looks like here. And see the first item there that says raise hand. Well, when you click on that, what happens is the thumbnail gets a hand in it. So the people who are working behind the screens know who wants to ask a question. And also in the participants window, it puts hands next to the people in the order that they asked the question. So you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, they're going to miss me. They're going to miss me. It orders you. And so you'll be called on in the order that you raised your hand. This is a very important thing for us because sometimes I'm having difficulty understanding or lip reading a particular presenter. And so you have the ability to adjust what you're looking at your screen here is what you should be seeing of me. And where Sherry is, you should be seeing me. But obviously, since Sherry is the president of HLAA Washington, we wanted you to see her in this example. So if you are not seeing the two people side by side like that, what you need to do is let your eye move to the upper right-hand corner, and you will see a word that says view. When you click on view, if you select side by side speaker, you'll just see Sherry and the presentation. You can also do gallery, but then it's harder to enlarge the person who's the speaker. So see where that red circle is? There's a little bar there, and you can take your cursor over that bar and you can make the presenter's window bigger or the slide presentation window bigger. And this could be really handy if you were having a hard time lip reading somebody and you preferred to have them be bigger to lip read and the actual slides to be smaller. Back to you, Sherry.
Thanks, Ann. Now I'd like to take a minute to introduce you to our board members. This is a really, really awesome team. Again, I'm Sherry Pirazzoli, your president. Glenda Philio is our secretary. And if you've been to one of our picnics or the written support group meetings, You've met Glenda, and you know she is a wonderful leader and resource for people for hearing loss support. Rick Font is our treasurer, not his first time in this role, and we're very appreciative that he stepped back in during 2021. Rick was a terrific hearing loop installer before he recently retired, and he is our master chef grilling up those delicious burgers that you have when you come to our picnics. Sandy Bunning is a longtime board member, and currently she's in charge of our hospitality. It's Sandy who checks you in at the picnic and gives you your name tag. Carolyn Odio is new to our board, and she has yet to go to a picnic, but she's one of our tech wizards, as you've probably already seen, and she coordinates a hearing loss support group in Panorama in Lacey. Finally, Karen Utter is our past president, state chapter coordinator, and I just wanted to mention, in friendship, if you've ever sent Karen an email or received one back from her, you are familiar with her trademark signature, "In Friendship, Karen." And while Karen may be stepping back from the chapter coordinator role, I have a feeling we'll still see her around. She's been the face of HLAA Washington for so long, you won't find a better friend to people with hearing loss. Now, HLAA is entirely volunteer run and led. We're all here to respond to you. So I'd like you to join with me in applauding this group for all the work that they do. Next slide. Now I'm going to turn the mic over to Lindsay of HSDC. Let's move on to our wonderful guest speakers. Today, we're very excited to have with us Lindsay Klarman, the Executive Director for the Hearing, Speech, and Deaf Center, Brad Ingrao, who many of you probably recognize from his many HLAA presentations and articles. One of our big goals for 2022 is to connect the hearing loss community with services and support that they need. We invited Lindsay and Brad to talk today because HSDC offers services for people with hearing loss that you or someone you know may be able to take advantage of now or into the future. Lindsay and Brad will give an overview of HSDC. I'll ask some questions, and then you all will have a chance to ask some questions before we move on to the rest of the agenda. So now I'll pass the slide to Lindsay. Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Sherry. It really is an honor to be here with HLAA. As you can see, the Hearing, Speech, and Deaf Center is very much in line with a lot of the work that you all do in your chapter and throughout the US. I came to HSDC about 7 years ago, and just like you, I have friends and family who are deaf and hard of hearing. Our mission is to foster inclusive, accessible communities through communication, advocacy, and education. We do envision a world where we have an accessible world where everyone is understood and respected. Next slide. We are unique. We are a clinic in Washington State, and we are a nonprofit organization. What does that mean? Our goal is to serve the broadest number of people. We serve a social purpose while also being financially secure, which means our focus is on community impact, not on profit sharing. We get funding through insurance billing, donations, grants, and government contracts. We have a mix of paid and volunteer team members to support all of the work that the Hearing, Speech, and Deafness Center does. Next slide. We are unique because we are a fully integrated clinic. We have early education services, 0 to 5 as we call it. We have speech and language services, which we'll talk a little bit more about, as well as the overall hearing health. We serve infant to elder. Next slide. For over 80 years, we have been making sure we are there for the Washington community. Our education services is actually broken up into 2 areas. We have what we call early support services, Often, many of our parents have never met a deaf person until they've given birth or adopted one. We help them on that journey. We also have preschool services where we have a mix of children who are deaf, hard of hearing, and hearing working together in their playgroups. Our clinic, which is what we're here to talk about specifically today, is what our audiology and speech and language services. Before my position here at HSDC, I was at the University of Washington in the Speech and Hearing Science Department, and we were always fascinated at how well we were able to refer people over to HSDC to get cutting edge, head of the curve technology as well as that care. We also provide interpreting services for those who use American Sign Language, as well as CART services, which I know that you're using today. So you can always reach out for us to be able to provide that for you. And luckily, as Sherry mentioned, we've been able to see some progress in our technology with some of that artificial intelligence where we see captions running across our screen today. We also have a very large department in advocacy. Our advocacy services actually serve 13 counties. We are there for those who are deaf and hard of hearing. What does advocacy mean? Anything from job training, education in the workplace. Maybe you're experiencing some of that discrimination. You need a boost in your technology so that you can show up for those meetings when you're working with your team in your workplace. Maybe you need some communication support around how to have that conversation around the dinner table. We also provide other advocacy and support for anyone who needs anything connected to deaf and hard of hearing. We've seen that a lot recently with COVID, making sure that we keep people in their homes, that they sign up for unemployment, and they're able to navigate a system that sometimes is not very deaf or hard of hearing friendly. Next slide. So how do you find out more about us? The website is a great place to go. If you just click on www.hsdc.org, you'll see this screen here. This is our home screen. Next slide. For the audiology specific or hearing aid areas that you're looking for, this is where you'll want to go. There's a drop-down menu where it says clinic. Next slide. Once you arrive at the specific audiology and hearing aid webpage, you'll see a box where you can click where it says procedures for audiology and hearing aid appointments. Brad and Sherry will talk a little bit more about that when we get to the Q&A part, but we offer a wide array of services, again, to serve the broadest community that we can. This is also where you can go to make an appointment. You can call and talk to someone as well as just click for an online appointment. Next slide. HSDC audiology services, like I said, are diverse. There's a huge array. We provide those hearing evaluations. Maybe you need an update. You're not sure where you're at with your hearing level. We can go ahead and do that for you. We make sure to support veterans benefits examinations so you don't have to just go to the VA. You can come to us as well. We make sure that your device is staying at its optimal performance. We clean, we check, we repair, we do those adjustments. We also provide counseling. This is our largest area, in my opinion, as far as success goes. We make sure that we're sitting there with you, guiding you through what you need for your particular environment in your home and in your family and in your workplace. Often many suffer from tinnitus or need some boost in their oral rehabilitation, or they need that partnership with advocacy to just try to manage that medical model. We also do device consultation and fitting. We make sure that if you can't come into the clinic, we can do it virtually, just like we're doing today. Hopping on that computer screen with that doctor or that technician can go a long way and really help get some of those troubleshooting concerns taken care of. We also, like I said, are happy to step in and help with workplace accommodation. We want to make sure that, especially now where the job market is tight, people are looking for that top talent. We set up someone for success in their workplace. We also can help you with your ear modes and earplugs. The word on the street is that HSDC actually provides the most comfortable ear molds. So come in and see us sometime with that as well. Next slide. So what's different about us versus a private clinic, or simply just going to Costco. We believe in what we call an unbundled business model. We are pay as you go. We also don't weight procedures based on difficulty. We try to make it equitable across the board. We are a nonprofit. Really, our goal is to cover our administration costs. We're focused on the service aspect, not on upselling a product. We use this unbundled model where you pay as you go because you can get what you need as well as what you want. Our goal is to get you the best service at the lowest cost. So we work with your specific insurance, whether it is state insurance or private insurance or pay out of pocket. Our philosophy is personalized service for you and your loved ones. You're not just a patient when you come to HSDC. You are a part of this community. Next. The devices we serve also are diverse. We, of course, serve hearing aids. That's what everybody knows us for. We have actually also recently added cochlear implants as part of our service support. We know that sometimes hearing aids don't get you what you need. So having that conversation about what the next step could be is something that you can do at HSDC. We also make sure that based on that technology, do you have the assistive listening devices that fit your home or your lifestyle as well? We also work with osseo-integrated implants. Next. Hearing aids. Again, we can talk a little bit more about this during the Q&A. Really, HSDC, again, is just trying to cover our costs administratively for our service, but get you the best deal. We currently work with a group called Zip Hearing, where you can buy directly from them, just like you would in a Costco model, for example. And what we do is we make sure that we make the highest and best recommendation for you. And then once that durable medical equipment, that hearing aid is purchased, we make sure that we fit it to what you need. And we make sure that you get the savings passed on to you. Clients save an average of 23% compared to the original prices or prices that you might see in a private clinic. This also includes a 1-year service, and the fee for service afterwards is very affordable, as you can see, $20 to $50 per visit. As far as Department of Vocational Rehab or Apple Health or State Health, we make sure to follow their process. But again, we inform and do that with you all along the way to make sure that you're getting what you need. Next slide. Our core values really are based around our commitment to race, social justice, and belonging. We believe everyone should get high quality care. We know that equity is a big buzzword lately. They talk a lot about it in a lot of different areas, but HSDC has really been doing this all along. We believe in our core that everyone should get access to high quality services, regardless of their ability to pay. Hearing health is crucial to overall wellness and affects so many aspects of one's life. You all know that more than anyone else, I'm sure. We have additional service support for those individuals and families as well. We'll talk again a little bit more about how some of our additional services at HSDC can support that hearing health, such as speech and language services for that oral rehabilitation. Again, getting CART or transcripts where you need it, deaf and hard of hearing services who are representative of the community they serve. They themselves are deaf and hard of hearing, and so they know what it feels like to be going through different navigations, like I said, with the medical system or the workplace. And we also, in our education services, really believe in having the whole family involved in a child's education. That includes parents and grandparents. We don't want anybody left out. All of our materials are always captioned or provided in a way so that everybody has access to it. Next slide. So who are the faces of the clinic? You've met me, the executive director. Soon you'll get to meet Dr. Brad Ingrao. Athena is our clinic director. She is fantastic. She is trained as a speech language pathologist and works very closely with audiologists to make sure that the whole speech and hearing mechanism are working in conjunction in the best way possible. Kato is our newest audiologist to join the team, but we have known Dr. Omakawa for many years. She came to us as an intern. She went and completed her doctorate in audiology at the University of Washington, and we are proud to have her come back as a full clinician in this area. We also have Casey Castro. He is our front desk support. There was no one better when it comes to customer service. He was always there to answer your questions and is the one who will be scheduling your appointments when you come to see us. And now, next slide, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Brad Ingrao. I have been lucky enough to work with him for the past year and a half. He, again, has the same experience that I do. We have deaf friends and family. He is a parent of a now grown deaf adult. Sorry, Brad, to date you there. Your kiddo is no longer a little one like mine who's completed his preschool at HSDC. He has worked as a former American Sign Language interpreter. I have as well, although I don't think we've ever crossed paths and got to team together back in the day. He's taught at several universities. He is well known in the HLAA world, as you all know, and he was successful in redesigning many programs, and that was actually why he came to HSDC in 2020. We saw a great need for lots of change, and COVID just escalated all of that in a good way. We were able to serve those that were underserved the most. So Brad, I'd like to turn it over to you and Sherry so we can get some questions from the audience. Next slide.
Thanks
Great.
very much. Can I take a couple of minutes, Sherry, and just unpack a couple of the terms that Lindsay used, because it was a great overview, but I want to make sure that people kind of understand what we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely, Brad. Take it away.
Okay, so one of the things that Lindsay talked about is hearing aids being unbundled. The typical model for buying a hearing aid pretty much all the way across the United States is you pay this really big price, and they tell you that that's the price of the hearing aid, and it includes all of the services that you'll need for some amount of time. Now, typically the manufacturers would like you to buy a new hearing aid every 3 years, and so they build their pricing kind of around that. And so in reality, the hearing aid itself is much less expensive than that big number. But if you don't bundle it, it's hard to know exactly what's what. So with our agreement with Zip Hearing, we have taken the service piece out, which is the evaluation, the selection, and the fitting, the real ear measurement, the follow-up services, all of that instruction piece for the first year. And we calculated how much it would cost us to do all of those services. That's what Zip Hearing pays us $500 for each ear for, so $1,000 for a typical hearing aid fitting. That means that it doesn't matter what hearing aid you buy. If you buy the least expensive hearing aid or the most expensive hearing aid, you will get exactly the same services for that price. So it allows HSDC to be completely independent in helping you make that decision. And so the typical way to select hearing aids is we do an audiogram. Hopefully we do some more things like some questionnaires. And then we ask you, well, okay, how much money do you want to spend? And we start to throw some recommendations at you. What we're doing at HSDC is kind of an older style solution where we test your hearing. We evaluate your level of difficulty that you report using a tool called the Abbreviated Profile of Hearing Aid Benefit. And we then actually fit 3 different hearing aids on you that day. We put you in a room where the speaker in front of you is playing sentence material. For those of you with cochlear implants, you're familiar with the AZ BIO test. It's a sentence test. But at the same time, in another speaker very close by, you're hearing 12 people at a cocktail party. Now, how many people here have ever gone to a hearing test and walked out and said, well, that's interesting, but it has no reference to my real life? But if we select your hearing aids by giving you 3 different kinds of hearing aids programmed to your current hearing loss, in a very realistic environment where the background noise is as loud or louder than the speech. And the percentage score that is the best leads us to the recommendation rather than how I feel about the sales rep or how the closest, whatever the deal is that month. I'm just letting the hearing aid and your brain tell me what the best hearing aid is. Then, because Zip is going to pay me for my time, if you can only afford a mid-range hearing aid so that you can also afford your remote microphone and your TV streamer, that's fine. We're getting paid the same, so we will provide the same quality care regardless of what amount of hearing aid you buy. That's really helpful because my opinion is interesting, but it's not that important. Your ability, measured ability, and then what's cool about it is we do those same tests in the middle of your trial period. So we fit your hearing aids, and then when you come for your follow-up, we do that questionnaire again. And it should be better than when we did. And if we didn't, if it's not better, maybe we picked the wrong hearing aid. We also do that word test again to make sure that you're actually hearing better with those hearing aids. So that's the unbundled piece, and it's also the hearing aid selection piece. And Lindsay talked a little bit about auto rehabilitation. That's a term that a lot of traditional bundled models say, oh, well, we provide counseling for that big money too. No, this is formal auditory training, like some of you may have had when you were kids. We have a speech pathologist named Amber, and she specializes in hearing and listening training, formalized, structured. So when we see people who have a significant amount of difficulty, even when we fit them with an appropriate hearing aid and assistive technology, we make a recommendation for you to meet with her, and she'll make an evaluation and come up with a customized plan. It's like having your own personal trainer for your listening brain. And that can be done remotely. It can be done in person. Most insurance companies actually reimburse it better than if I, the audiologist, do it. So it's a collaborative work. So we're really trying to get away from this idea that all we have to do is stick a hearing aid on you. It's a much bigger process than that. Because we're not for profit, because we are paid for our time, and that's our goal, we're able to be much more comprehensive, and it doesn't end up costing you an arm and a leg. Okay, thanks, Sherry. I just wanted to kind of clarify those couple of things, because we get, I think we forget that we use these terms all the time, and there you go. All right,
Okay,
I'm done.
Thank you, Brad. And I have to say, you did such a great job. You really covered my first three questions. So, which was unbundling of services and what's the process for a new patient. So I think you did a great job with that. So thank you very much. So in terms of looking specifically for someone who is getting a new hearing aid, and you mentioned that you might do an evaluation. So how would you actually go about choosing the three aids that you might select? What features would you consider?
Sure.
And why?
So I look at it from a perspective of how does the hearing aid approach amplification? And there's really three different kinds of approaches currently. There is something called beam forming, which is the hearing aid attempts to find speech, which is probably the most important signal, and then it directs the microphones toward the speech. So if you and I were sitting in a small coffee shop, Sherry, and we were talking, your speech would be in front of me and the other speech around me wouldn't be in front of me. So a beam forming hearing aid would assume that the speech in front of me is the most important speech, and it would desensitize my rear microphones and point the hearing aids toward the presumed most important speech. That's the first and most common way hearing aids approach things. The second one is a few years old, where companies like Oticon and Widex have said, wait a minute, the brain is the best filter of all. So let's just give people an accurate picture of everything. This is sort of open hearing or brain hearing. And let's allow the hearing aid to give all the information to the brain, and the brain can figure it out. In my experience, there's a lot of people for whom that's a really good solution. And there's people for whom the beamforming is a really good solution. There's a company called Signia that has decided that if we give a little bit of both, that's probably good. And then there are very specific brands that people have had for years and years and years. And so what I do is I look at the hearing test, I look at the audiogram, I look at the word recognition particularly, and then we look at, and I say we, Dr. Omakawa and I do the same thing. So we look at that abbreviated profile of hearing aid benefit, and we say, where is the area of most difficulty? Is it in quiet sounds? Is it in background noise? Is it in reverberation? And then we say, okay, let's make sure that we cover all possible options. And so if you've worn a Starkey hearing aid for the last 10 years, then one of the things I want to compare is the newest Starkey hearing aid. Now, I know which of those two things, beamforming or open, Starkey is, but I still want to give you your preferred brand and then one of each of those two approaches to hearing. So if you're an iPhone user and you've always been an iPhone user, I'll probably pick a hearing aid like a ReSound that's a beamformer that's made for iPhone. But if you're an Android user, I might pick a Phonak, which is a beamformer, but it's compatible with Android. And then we'll pick one of the open hearing aids, Widex or Oticon, and I'll choose one of those based on some other features. Oh, you're a musician. Okay, Widex is a little bit better known for music, so so now we have a beamformer Phonak, we have an open Widex, and we have your old pal Starkey, and we compare those three. And so we select those three hearing aids based on not only your particular hearing loss, but can we represent what the fundamental approaches to hearing loss available in the market are, and then we go from there. If you have a hearing aid that's still pretty good, but you're wondering, would a new one be better, we'll put your actual own hearing aid in the mix. Because here's the thing, if I can't show that your hearing aid is worse than the best hearing aid that I could sell you, I ain't going to sell you a hearing aid. I'm going to talk about maybe we should do some oral rehab. And we do this often. People come in with 3 or 4-year-old hearing aids, and they say, I've read a lot about new hearing aids. Maybe I could do better. And I say, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make sure you're tuned up. So we do a hearing evaluation. We make sure your hearing aids are set properly. We do all these tests with your own hearing aids to establish a baseline. Then I refer you to oral rehabilitation for 6 weeks. And you do 6 weeks of really focused listening practice. And then we do those tests again. And if you're still not making progress, then we'll start to evaluate other hearing aids. But a 3-year-old hearing aid is not obsolete by any stretch of the imagination. And to believe otherwise is listening to marketing, not to data. So we're focused on data.
That's great to hear. I think everyone is very happy to hear that they can keep their hearing aid longer than 3 years. And I really appreciate you referencing the telephone, because that is one of the areas where we often have the most difficulty. But one of the things I'm wondering, so based on your process, how do telecoils fit into your recommendation?
In my personal opinion, I don't like to fit hearing aids without a telecoil unless somebody can give me a really, really good reason why they would never, ever need it. They don't cost any more to put in at the front end. The majority of people are wearing receiver in the canal hearing aids anyway. It just doesn't make sense not to have them.
Yes, yes, it's a wonderful feature. Of course, you guys know that I love my telequals and I love my Bluetooth and I love oral rehabilitation. And, really, I think all of us like to take advantage of all the tools that we have in the toolbox. So thanks for that. So let me just ask you this. COVID really increased a lot of the use of telemedicine. Has this been a silver lining for HSDC? And if so, how?
Yes and no. So a lot of what we do is re-instruction. So people come in and can you remind me how to use this thing or whatever? That's a perfect opportunity for telemedicine, particularly if we're using our corporate Zoom account that has captioning. And I'll tell you, sometimes I'll do these Zoom calls and people say, wow, where did those captions come from? That's really neat. So that's kind of a neat thing. The manufacturers of hearing aids and cochlear implants have been slow to implement really effective remote options. A couple of them have very nice ones. And I'll tell you, that's part of our selection process. So for example, Widex has a great hearing aid, but their telemedicine system is very, very cumbersome. And so if a person is not terribly tech savvy, but they live far away, I don't really think I'm going to make that recommendation unless the other data is significantly outbalancing the others, because I want those telemedicine solutions to be streamlined and I want them to be easy to use and not to be buggy. So the manufacturers are getting better, but unfortunately, I think that some advocacy could be pushed in that direction. I will be honest, I think that the over-the-counter movement will push a little bit more innovation in that regard, because some of the consumer electronics companies probably have better resources for that. But yeah, we're looking at lots of ways of doing telemedicine, including oral rehab, including advocacy. I know a lot of our advocacy folks, I think I saw Devin Myers pop in here. He's one of our great advocates. They do a lot of their work remotely, and that's something that we want to continue to foster. I don't know that there's a silver lining or not. I mean, COVID's been really tough. We try very hard to, in addition to doing all the normal stuff, create special programs for people to offset the attenuation of face masks. Okay. It's getting harder and harder because of more variability, but there's a lot of ways we can work on that, and a lot of that can be done remotely.
Okay, so let's move on because I know that our audience is dying to ask some questions as well. So, sure. Next slide, please. So, I thank you very, very much, Lindsay and Brad, for talking to us about HSDC services. It's wonderful to join forces with you. Before we transition to Q&A, I want to pass the mic to Carolyn. And so she can remind everyone how to raise our hands to ask our questions.
Okay, here we go with another Zoom lesson. If you go down to on a computer, a lot of times they're at the bottom, or an iPhone might be at the top. There's a little icon that says reactions. If you don't see the icon, you might check your more menu, which is a 3-dot menu. Sometimes icons get squeezed into there. If you click on reactions, there's going to be a raise hand. And I see right now Suzanne West has raised her hand, so she'll be the first one in the queue. And then when you finish talking, you do the same thing. You go to reactions, click on it, and it will say lower hand. So there you go, you lower it when you're done. So I can call on Suzanne. You have a question.
Yes, I do. I'm very intrigued by the unbundled services that you described. And I get my hearing tested at Kaiser Permanente on a regular basis, and they do some of the testing that you've described, particularly actually the last time, for the first time, they did the noisy environment. That was a new thing that they did. And then for the last, I don't know, 10 years, I've bought my hearing aids at Costco because they're so expensive through it used to be Group Health, through Kaiser. And most of the time I've been very pleased with the hearing aid fitting. What hasn't been so great is any kind of adaptive devices. So 2 questions I have. One is, how does your unbundled service differ, and how does the cost of the hearing aid differ from Kaiser and Costco?
Sure. Well, I haven't worked in Kaiser, so I don't know exactly what their system is. We get a lot of people who get their hearing tested at Kaiser and then come to us for hearing aids. I can tell you that prior to partnering with ziphearing.com, our prices were about average for the Seattle area, and they are currently 23% lower. So what that means is, for that first year, you're going to pay one price to Zip Hearing, and they go all the way from very basic devices all the way to premium devices, all the major manufacturers. They also offer all assistive technologies, all the way up to the very sophisticated Phonak Roger systems, media streamers, remote controls. You need it, you get it. If they don't have something that you need, like for example, a specialized smoke alarm, we could get that for you and resell it to you. But in reality, you can get just as good a price on Diglo, D-I-G-L-O, which used to be Harris Communications. And so oftentimes what we'll do in a situation like that is we'll work with you to find a good recommendation of a product. And then if you can get a better price for it, you get it on your own. And then if you need help with it, we can certainly help you with it. But our process, I believe, is different than the majority of places, only because it's about a 60-year-old process that began at the Veterans Administration after World War II, and it kind of got abandoned with newer hearing aids. So I certainly feel confident that we will give you a more comprehensive evaluation of your total needs. And again, I have no dog in the fight as to which hearing aid you buy, in terms of brand and also in terms of technology level. So we have the ability to be very, very objective and very, very independent, and to help you make a decision that works for you, regardless of what I feel is a good idea. So, and I hope that answered your question.
That does answer my question. So the next time I need new hearing aids, I am going to come to you all after I get my hearing tested. Thank you.
We appreciate that. We can also do your hearing test. We're credentialed with Kaiser as well, so we can do the hearing testing as well.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Brad, I'd like to put that in the chat, that URL that you referred to.
Oh, diglo.com. It used to, if you go to the old harriscom.com, it'll bounce you to the new one. It's the same company, they just changed their name. But they have everything on the planet related to hearing.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
We also have a question. Well, let's move on to the next question, and then I'll do the chat questions, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Mary Stiles is next.
Okay, my question is, do you ever recommend to your patients to get a phone where you could put it in your home, and does that take away, like I have a landline for that purpose because it's harder to hear sometimes on the iPhone. So anyway, what is your experience with those phones? How effective are they? Would they reduce your bill with Comcast or whoever your company provider is?
So the phones that are available generally through the state, we work with those. If somebody's looking for either a caption phone or an amplified phone, we absolutely can assist you. There's a form that you have filled out. We work with Caption Call and why am I blanking on it? There's two caption phone companies out there, and we work with both of them. In terms of your bill, I don't know that it's going to decrease your bill or not. It's a landline phone, right? And so you'd have to have a landline. Some of the CapTel, thank you very much, Sherry. It's early on a Saturday morning. Some of those caption devices require an internet connection as well. So the reality is, I want you to hear as well as you can hear on the phone. For some people, a traditional landline phone, maybe with a telecoil, is your best connection. For some people, what they call a phone over or voice over IP, which means that the telephone comes through your internet connection. Because of the expanded bandwidth of that signal, some people hear better there. So it's hard to say what's going to be the best. We can certainly work with you, and between audiology, speech language pathology, and deaf and hard of hearing services, we can find that right solution for you. And that's one of the really things I love about HSDC is, unlike a traditional audiology clinic where I have to do everything myself, we have access to all of these other resources. And I have access to colleagues who have hearing loss themselves. I know what sounds good to me, but my hearing is mostly normal. So I'm a bad person to ask, is this a good phone, right? But I have colleagues who have hearing loss and they can give me that. So I think the best way to approach that kind of concept is have an evaluation of your auditory function, which might include an updated hearing test, maybe an oral rehab evaluation, so that we can look at it. And oral rehab is another way to kind of attack the phone thing. It's not always just a new piece of hardware. Maybe it's some training on how to fill in the blanks better when you're on the phone. And so by taking this sort of, brain is the thing we're dealing with, not the ear, right? Audiology tends to look at your ear. We're trying to look at the person. And the biggest part of your auditory system, even if you're an old guy with big ears like me, is actually your brain, not your ear. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Brad, we have a couple of questions in the chat.
Sure.
Okay, so one question is, hospital kits, are they available?
We
through
don't
you?
have a hospital kit per se, but we are absolutely willing and interested to maybe partner with HLAA Washington to design and hopefully, and we also have some grant writers that maybe we could help put together a package. That would be great. That would be great.
That's a good idea. So we'll take it up. Another question is, I have a caption phone, but don't use it because it is my understanding that they save the conversations. Do any caption phones allow the conversation to disappear?
I don't know who they is. The phone itself, for some caption phones, and Anne and Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of those phones have a setting where you can voluntarily save the conversation to review it later. I am not aware of any caption phone that has a mandatory requirement to save the conversation, particularly in a third party. So the specifics of that will be detailed in the instruction booklet of the caption phone. And if you have further questions about policy related to that, if you contact the provider of the caption phone, they can clarify that. But I'm not aware of any caption phone that has a requirement that the conversation be saved. And in fact, most of them, you have to opt into the conversation being saved rather than opting out. Am I correct, Anne? Okay, Ann's nodding her head. I gotta
Okay.
check with your experts, guys, you know?
All right, the next question is from me. Do you test for hidden hearing loss?
Well, it depends on what you mean by hidden hearing loss.
Well, there was an article in the New York Times last Tuesday, and they had a whole article about it, but mostly it's a hearing loss that is not registered on your audiogram, but you have a problem hearing in noisy situations.
Yep.
And that can be a problem because if it's not registering on your audiogram, you know, it's not being taken care of.
Correct. Yeah. So that's absolutely that falls into a category of hearing loss we call auditory processing disorders. One of the tests I talked about, called the abbreviated profile of hearing aid benefit, is an interesting test. It's been used since the 1990s. It was developed by the University of Memphis and the Memphis Veterans Administration. And it asks you questions like, when I'm in a crowded grocery store talking with the cashier, I can follow the conversation. And you reply always, almost always, all the way down to never. And you answer these questions. There's 24 of these statements. And those 24 statements group into 4 different categories of hearing and listening difficulty. Ease of communication. So when I'm having a quiet conversation with my doctor in an examination room, I can follow the conversation almost always. When I'm having a conversation with someone at a dinner table and several people are talking, I have to strain to understand almost always. And so when we go through this, we score it, and that will tell me, well, maybe for quiet situations, you have 20% of the time you have difficulty, but in background noise and reverberation, you have difficulty 80% of the time. So we do that before you even come into the test booth. You do that in the waiting room. And then we test your hearing. And if I see those really big difficulties, that you have more difficulty in adverse situations than 80% of people who have normal hearing, and you don't have a hearing loss on the audiogram, well, I'm not going to say, sorry, Carolyn, you have normal hearing, good luck. I'm going to say, you know, this is interesting. Your inner ear is within normal limits, but the way that your ear and your brain talk to each other when there's other things going on is definitely not typical. So let's talk about ways we could help. And we, in fact, just did yesterday, 2 days ago, fit a young teenage kid with very, very mild gain hearing aids and a Roger on microphone, because he's in that situation. He has almost normal hearing, but he has extreme difficulty in background noise. So we do that. A lot of times we work with kids or teenagers in conjunction with our speech language pathologists in the school districts. But yeah, that sort of hidden hearing, which is really auditory processing, is something that we look at. We also see that a great deal with veterans who have had head injuries. Even if they have normal hearing, they don't process speech the same way they used to. And so we can work with them in a combination of some technological solutions, but more importantly, that brain training, auditory processing, and auditory training.
That's great that you talked about that, because what I did is I found the questionnaire and I put it in the chat, so that if any of the participants are interested in seeing that questionnaire, what you do is you click on chat, you look and you'll see the file there, and you click on the file and you can download it to your computer as well as open it, but you can download it. So it's there, and it's an excellent questionnaire for even everybody to fill out. I try to fill it out every year so that I can keep a history of how I'm hearing, you know, from year to year. So that's excellent. Thank you. In terms of other comments, we have some in the chat here.
We're going to take a little break, I think. I just saw a note from Sherry that we're going to take a little captioner break.
So
Oh.
this is Sherry. Yes, yes. So we would like to, our captioner has requested a short break. So we're going to take maybe a 2-minute break for our captioner, and we'll be right back to start the second end of the second part of our program. So thanks so much. Okay, welcome back. I think our cart provider is ready to go. And thank you all for your patience. At this moment, I'd like to thank HSDC for this excellent presentation. And I hope everyone who's on the call today can take advantage of HSDC services and help spread the word about everything that they have to offer. So going on with our program, our mission of HLAA Washington is to open the world of communication to Washingtonians through information, education, support, and advocacy. So before I talk about our programs, I'd like to take just a minute to thank each of you who responded to our survey last year. We asked, how can we best help you? How would you like to receive information? What would you like to see in our e-news and our new website? And we worked hard to respond to your answers. We've worked to develop programs and communications that really resonate. We encourage you to reach out, to offer feedback, and to volunteer to share your energy and talents with us. Next slide, please. We've created HLAA Washington support groups with our Hearing Other People's Experiences Hope group. When I first came to HLAA, I was like the woman who's wearing the striped scarf. I was often frustrated and having difficulty talking and coping with my hearing loss. And then somewhere along the way, I met a hearing loss friend who helped me and guided me through that process. And now somehow, I don't know how it happened, but I became the woman who's on the right with the ivory sweater, who's now providing that guidance and counseling to someone else. And so that's what I'd like to encourage each of you to do. We all come to our hearing loss at different stages, and we're all in this together. So now I would like to turn the mic over to Glenda, who will explain how our HOPE program works. Glenda.
Good morning. Well, HOPE, H-O-P-E, Washington, was formed in January of 2021 as a response to the isolation brought on by the pandemic and offers support for people with hearing loss. It stemmed from a desire to connect with others with hearing loss and to hear other people's experiences. We found that by sharing our stories and listening to others' success stories and challenges with hearing loss, we learn a lot. And we know that we are not alone, and we have empathy and understanding for each other through the shared experience of hearing loss. Thus, many of us are empowered to take positive action and seek out more ways to hear our best. HOPE Washington is facilitated by a caring group of HLAA-WA members with years of experience living with hearing loss, and the 75-minute format is simple. In part one, people share a success, a challenge, or a question related to their hearing loss uninterrupted for 2 to 3 minutes. After a short break in part two, people offer feedback on what was shared in part one. We learned so much about helpful communication tips, new technology, and resources, as well as emotional support. Here's a HOPE testimonial. I love the meetings are captioned. The people are interesting and engaging, and I always learn something new. After hearing one person's success story with a voice recognition app, I was inspired and motivated to download it. It really improved my ability to understand speech through those darned masks. I would never have done it on my own. I learned how at a HOPE meeting. HOPE Washington meets the first Wednesdays of every month from 4 to 5:15 p.m. and all are welcome to come, including friends, family, anyone who wants to learn more about how to live and thrive with hearing loss. We hope you'll join us. Register through the e-news. Keep an eye out for that, and you can register there, and we'll hope to see you next month. Thanks.
And actually, Glenda, I put the registration link in chat as
Awesome.
well.
Great. Thank you much.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, Carolyn. And I really encourage each of you to join a Hope group as soon as you can. It's really easy just to relax and enjoy the company of others. Next. So in the last year or two, we've really worked to revamp our e-newsletter. We've improved readability, accessibility, and we've grown our audience. The e-news comes out every other Tuesday, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. We welcome your ideas on articles and news to share as well. Please follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we are really busy working on writing and developing a new HLAA-WA website to debut this spring. If you're looking for a way to volunteer for just a couple of hours a month, our communications work is a perfect place to dip your toe in. We'd welcome help with our e-news, website updates, social media, and more. Next. Advocacy. So of course, everyone knows this is my favorite part of HLAA. So advocacy and access go hand in hand. We really can't have one without the other. Each of us must make a simple ask. And I'd like to applaud each of you for making that ask. Whether you've asked at your doctor's office, city hall, or a virtual meeting, this is how we educate policymakers on what we need. At HLAA Washington, we work with leaders to help Washington become a hearing-friendly state. And we have really big news on the legislative front. There is a new revised bill that will replace HB 1047, the Children's Hearing Aid Bill. This new bill, House Bill 1854, will require insurance carriers to cover hearing aids for both children and adults. This bill will be dropped on Monday. And then I'd like to give a shout out to Cynthia Stewart, who is currently our liaison to advance Washington state legislation. She's really an expert on policy work. She served for years with the League of Women Voters, and we consider her one of our go-to people. And yesterday, we can thank Cynthia for sending us this exciting update to share with you guys. Please stay tuned to e-news for more information on this breaking news. If you would like to know what you can do now, the best thing would be to go in and contact the committee members for the hearing and healthcare. And we did this last year when we reached out. We asked each of you to contact Health and Care, the Health and Wellness Committee. We want Representative Cody to give us a hearing. That's really important. So the first thing that we could do is probably reach out to the commission, to the committee to get a hearing. Now moving on to Costco. I'd like to encourage you to stay tuned to our e-news to learn how Costco shareholder Carolyn Odio got the attention of Costco executives to put hearing loops at hearing aid counters at the Lacey and Tumwater stores. So if you're shopping for a hearing aid at these Costco stores, you can use the telecoil on your program on your hearing aid to communicate with the dispensers through the counter loop. Thanks, Carolyn. We're thrilled to have this at Costco. Hospital communication access is a big issue, especially when we're all wearing masks and trying to figure out telehealth. If you've ever used a hospital kit or hearing technology at Swedish, know that Karen Utter began that program for us years ago. So whenever you visit a healthcare facility, be sure to take your hospital kit and be sure to ask for hearing and communication assistance. over-the-counter open captions at the movie theater. So this is really, really exciting. And several of you probably read about the New York City had passed legislation on open caption movie regulations. Well, we're doing the same thing here in Washington. We're working to secure open caption viewings in Washington. We're talking to State Representative Tina Orwell, the Washington State Department of Commerce, Caption Access, and Hearing Loss Civil Rights Attorney John Waldo, and the Washington State Association of the Deaf, theater owners, and others to see what kind of open caption regulations might work here. So again, stay tuned to our e-news for updates. Next. One of our biggest challenges with HLAA Washington is for people with hearing loss in general is to get outside of our communities. We often feel like we're talking to the choir, preaching to the choir. We connect with a lot of other organizations because we believe in the power of collaborations. And our collaborations include the Washington State Senior Lobby, which is composed of many organizations supporting the rights of older adults. We collaborate with the Washington State Dementia Action Collaborative, the King County Commission on Aging, and Disabilities Rights Washington, just to name a few. Currently, all of the outreach is virtual until we feel like it is safe to meet again in person. Next. Well, we mentioned a couple of places here about ways you can volunteer, like with our communications, Hope Crew, or Advocacy. Another way would be to volunteer to serve as a board member or to lead a committee. Currently, our board meets every month virtually, and you'll have opportunities to shape our agenda and really contribute to our momentum as an organization. To learn more, we invite you to join our next meeting Saturday, February 5th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Next. We are a volunteer-driven organization, and I really can't stress enough how powerful it is to have a hearing loss mentor or friend to help you navigate your hearing loss. You never know who might be just dropping into a Hope meeting or offering to help organize a Give Big or in-person meeting. Sometimes you receive help and sometimes you offer help. And it feels wonderful both ways. That's the magic of HLAA. Now I'd like to pass the mic to Rick.
Okay, am I there?
Hi.
Okay, I see me talking. All right. Excuse me. Yeah. This is where we give the treasurer's report. Financially, HLAA Washington is in good shape. We're investing money into several projects, primarily the upcoming new webpage. So I would like to remind everybody that we are a volunteer donation-based organization. We've done great things, but we continue to need your help. If you have specific financial questions, get a hold of me and we can answer those for you. But overall, we're doing well. We're donation supported, so please continue to help us help others. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Rick. So next, please. Okay, so I'd like to find out if anyone has some additional answers. Be sure to raise your hand, not your real hand, but your Zoom hand, and go to your smiley face and click raise hand. So yes, I guess so. We can go back to the questions. I'm going to so I'm looking for questions. If anyone has any specific questions to the HLAA Washington, And before we finish the call today, I do want to highlight some national news. But I just right now, I just like to see if anyone has some questions specific to HLAA Washington.
Erlene has a question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I want to point out that Joanna Olmsted, who's on this call from Anacortes, has developed a fantastic hospital kit. It's all done. You don't have to start from the beginning. I heard them mention from Seattle Hearing and Speech Deafness Center that they're putting something together. It's already done. Let's not repeat and she has made these and distributed them. I live in Oak Harbor. I've taken them here to my audiologist in Coopville. I don't know, Joanne, if you want to speak to that, but it's already done. It's this wonderful kit. So let's proceed with that. That's all.
Terrific. Joanna, this is so fabulous. You do such a great job up in Anacortes. Thanks so much. Is there anything you'd like to say about this?
I have a couple of kits that are models, if you would like for me to share them. The one thing, those were done before COVID, and hospitalization has changed considerably since then. So we probably need to evaluate that part of it. But I took some things from Oregon who used to have a kit, and then someone from Texas that did. And I would be glad to share them with you, Sherry.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I know, and I believe the way that they can help people is that it provides information that you can give to the hospital healthcare workers, so they can identify you as having hearing loss.
Yeah.
I know that we worked for years in Washington State to help get these kits out, and kind of moving forward, I think we have to kind of transition from having things, hard copies of things, to being able to get this somehow on our medical chart. So I look forward to getting your hospital kits, Joanna.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, Diana has a question.
Yes, Diana, go ahead.
You have to unmute, Diana.
Okay, I'd like answers on two questions. I just assume I'm still representing the Hearing Loss Association on the Dementia Action Collaborative, correct?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to give a shout out to you, Diana, for all the work that you do there.
And then I'm wondering about the bill regarding coverage of hearing aids. Would you happen to know whether they're now picking up adults because they feel they're required to under the federal law, or is it because the costs came down in a low amount?
My understanding is that the Office of the Insurance Commissioner felt that it was an equity issue and that it was the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Diana. So, thank you very much for these questions. If you have additional questions, please reach out, email me at any time. So the next, let's move on to our big announcements. Next. So before we log off this today, I'd just like to mention a couple of ways that you can really lend your voice to make a difference at the national advocacy level. Advocacy works, and it starts with you. Next. Medicare Hearing Aid Coverage Act. This is awesome. Okay, this is a landmark opportunity for us. First, if you have not written your U.S. Senators, Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell for Washington State, please let them know you want them to keep Medicare coverage of hearing aids in the Build Back Better Act. Thanks. Next. We have been working for years to make access to hearing aids accessible and affordable for everyone. The FDA would like to have help from everyone to craft the rules for the new over-the-counter hearing aids that are coming soon. You can provide public comment up until January 18th, 2022. You can mention that you need consumer education on these devices, return policies, telequals included. Carolyn has already submitted her testimony requesting telequals and all over-the-counter devices. Next. Okay, so Ann Thomas, who is our HLAA brand ambassador, would like to speak to this slide. So at this point, I'll pass the mic to Ann.
Thanks, Sherry. So everybody, you know, we're all a volunteer organization, and we absolutely could not exist. We couldn't have half the things we have if we didn't have HLAA at the national level. I know every single day I'm grateful for my captions on my television. And I know that that would not exist if it weren't for HLAA. I know that I like the ratings on my cell phone when I go to purchase a cell phone, the T and the M. That wouldn't exist without HLAA. So there's power in numbers. HLAA represents all of us. So I'd like to remind all of you how important it is to join HLAA if you aren't a member yet, or renew your HLAA membership. HLAA has made this very easy for us to do. You just go to the HLAA website and you click on Make an Impact, and you can renew or take out your membership right there. We all look forward to the fact that you all become part of the huge HLAA family. Back to you, Sherry.
Thanks so much, Ann. And I just wanted to mention that one of the benefits of membership is a discounted admission to HLAA annual convention. And this year it's in June in Tampa. I won't be able to make it myself this year, but I've attended several conventions and I've gotten so much out of it. These meetings are all fully accessible with hearing loops and captions everywhere, ASL for all of the mainstream presentations. You can relax, listen, learn. And honestly, I've made so many friends at these conventions, and I've even been inspired in conducting my own advocacy. So thanks again. Next.
Sherry, Brad has his hand up. Maybe we could answer his question first.
Okay, thanks. Sure.
Thanks. Just a quick thing on the FDA over-the-counter hearing aid public comment. As part of the original document, there were some proposed changes to try to address some of the inconsistency of current hearing aid provision. So when you're putting your comments in about potentially how this new class of hearing aids should be handled, take an opportunity to also voice any comments or complaints that you have with the current system. For example, there's really no requirement that people follow best practices. And we know that only about 30% of hearing care professionals follow best practices, but yet they're complaining that there should be fewer people able to get hearing aids online. And one of the things that I'm putting into my comments is maybe these best practices should be built into every hearing aid fitting, and there should be an opportunity in this over-the-counter option to use for example, a website that you're filling out to do your hearing aid fitting online will require each and every piece of this puzzle to happen. The in-person audiologist should also be required to do each and every one of those things. And so this is an opportunity not only to define what over-the-counter looks like, but to help clean up the mess that traditional hearing aid dispensing has done. And you all have much more power in that. I will tell you that my profession is working really hard with really bad data to try to scare people to say that if you don't get your hearing, every single hearing aid from a hearing aid specialist, you will die. And there's absolutely no data to support any of that. And unless the consumers stand up and say, wait a minute, show me one example where a person who is an experienced hearing aid user who bought a replacement hearing aid online was harmed, and show me that the person selling them the overpriced hearing aid would have prevented that harm. They cannot do that. The data is terrible. So please, please, please be forceful in saying, not only do we want all of these things in over-the-counter hearing aids, but we insist that they are also in prescription hearing aids. And we want to make sure that every single person providing hearing aids, whether it's online or in person, follows the same standards. They are published, they are well researched, they are well peer reviewed, but we are ignoring them. This is your opportunity to change that.
Wow. Well said, Brad. Thank you very, very much. That's completely awesome that, you know, you're speaking out and really presenting things from a consumer's point of view. So we really, really appreciate that. Well, we're right at 11:30, and I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming today. And again, I would like to give a big shout out and appreciation to our guest speakers, Lindsay Klarman and Brad Ingrao. Thank you very much for coming today. You did a great job. And then finally, to everyone, if you haven't subscribed to our e-news, please do so. Please stay in touch. We'll keep you updated and connected. Let's stay connected. So on behalf of everyone, thanks for everything. And we'll close today's meeting.
Sherry, you originally mentioned you'd like to take a screenshot of everybody. Would you like
yes,
to
I
go?
do.
Yeah, so I'll quit sharing the screen. Hang on a minute.
Okay, thank you for reminding me.
And then after that, I'll tell you how to save chat.
Actually, and I have one request of people who are on the call. As Sherry said, we're often preaching to the choir, and you are all part of that choir. So one thing that would be really helpful is if each of us could expand the reach of HLAA Washington by telling other people about our organization. Forward them one of our e-newses and say, you know, check this out, subscribe to the e-news, it's full of helpful information, direct people to the website, let people know what we're doing, because the more people that we can reach, the more we can help.
Thank you, Heather. Ready, Ann?
Tell me when you're done.
Oh, no, I already took it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got everybody.
Okay,
Now-
thank you. Thank you very much. And so now Carolyn wants to make sure that everyone can save the chat. And go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay. First of all, if you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you cannot save chat. But for everyone who's on a computer, if you open up your chat, and if you go down to the very, very bottom of the chat, there's 3 little dots on the right. It's after the smiley face. If you click on the 3 dots, you should have the option that says save chat. It's at the top. So you're going to ask me, well, where does it go? When you leave the meeting, it will be on your desktop as a text file, but ultimately it goes into your Zoom folder, and your Zoom folder is in your all documents folder. It's a subfolder there. So both PCs and Macs have a documents folder. You just click on that and go inside it, and there's a subfolder Zoom, and everything is chronological there. So you can find it saved there ultimately. So when you're done saving your chat, you can just leave the meeting.
Thanks again. So thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sherry. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Brad and Lindsay.
Thank you so much. Great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Hello, Sherry.
Hello.
I'll put you on the agenda at the lobby meeting on Monday.
I haven't opened that yet, but I had a feeling that you might.
So yeah, be ready.
So this is a good way for let me know. Thanks, Walt.
Because you got that new bill and we got to tell the world.
Okay, yes, we do. Yes, we've got that new bill. We're very excited about this new bill.
All right, see you then.
Thanks, Walt. Okay.
Sherry,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can.
The notice that was sent out said Tuesday, the 10th for that meeting, which I decided must mean Monday, the 10th. But nevertheless, that was on the message I got from senior lobby.
Okay.
And I then emailed them and I phoned them and I left a message saying you're putting the wrong date on this, and I didn't get a response.
So
version
Walt, are
of
you
the-
still on the call? Can you answer Diana's
it is
questions? I
Monday,
haven't
the
opened the
regular-
email.
It is Monday, the regular time, and a corrected meeting notice was sent out.
I
So
guess-
Monday, I'll be looking for you on Monday.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay, well, Zoom is great for all kinds of things. So, hey, you guys, you did a great job. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You did an awesome job. And thanks so much, Noor.
You still there, Sherry?
I'm still here. I'm just making sure everyone has an opportunity to save the chat before we close the meeting.
I have a question, okay?
Well, sure, go ahead.
Okay, my question is those regulations, the way they define what is mild to moderate hearing loss doesn't seem like a good definition whatsoever, because I think I fit into that definition and my hearing is worse. And are people complaining about how they're making the definition? And I guess maybe this is something the way Brad was looking at it, but I think that they should have made it more clearer.
So I don't know, to answer your question, and then we'll move on. I think HLAA has not shown me what they're going to say about this. However, it's really important that we all go in and we provide comments, and clarifying that definition is essential. So that's something I know that you felt strongly about all along. And this is an opportunity for you to go in and say so on those comments. So thanks again. Okay, so I think that we'll log off now.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Sherry, can you stay a moment?
Yes, I am going to stay a moment. Okay. So I'll say bye to Sandy and Diana now.
Okay, I'll email you more questions. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good, Diana.
Oh, so are you okay? How did it go?
I thought, you know what, we ended pretty much on time, and I was concerned about that,
Well, I forgot to put the HLAA convention slide in there. Thanks for remembering. I was
Well,
gonna do that yesterday and I forgot. I
Well, you
didn't
know
even
what?
remember until you said it.
I had kind of written stuff out and I had that in my piece, so it was easy for me to remember that. Of course, I forgot other things too, but
Oh,
you
let's
did
stop
great.
that.
I thought it went really well. Could you